And hello everyone, and welcome to Sable's WorldForge. Um, so we've already got a bit of a lineup for showcases, so we're gonna do our best to do them in the order that they came in, contingent on whether or not the person who redeemed them is here, of course. Right? And hello James, hello Cayetan, hi Rowan, hello Dr. PDQ, good to see you. Welcome to the channel here. I ran in. Where were we? What were we watching? Oh yeah, Bob's stream, the game yesterday. That was a good game, wasn't it? I really enjoyed that. Bob's games are good. I try not to miss them. Let's see here. Yeah. And hello, Shadow. Always a pleasure. Hi, Amelie. Likewise. Hello, Satrium. Good to see you. Hi, Charmy City. Hello, Rabbit. How are you today? Rowan says, just remember, it's not arson if you're barbecuing or making s'mores. Okay, gang, that's it. I've already got showcases into Wednesday now. We're done. I'm turning them off. Sorry. Alright. As a matter of fact, we might have enough showcases to cover Wednesday now. Oh my. Alright. So, off they go. I promise you I will try to get through them as quickly as I can. I'm going to start with one because let's get her done. And then this way, if we have time, maybe we can slip in a fourth one and get ahead of the curve. We'll see. The game was a lot of fun, Rabbit. Rabbit was hilarious. Rabbit was playing a Radfolk, right? And he was just like, I think you need to deal with your anger management problem for the dwarf. It was so funny. Oh my god. And actually, what was even funnier about it was the fact that Kahuna was playing a dwarven monk who might be one of the most patient dwarves I've ever seen. So that was really good. Really funny. You guys had an amazing dynamic going on there. Really, really good stuff. Yeah. You sadly missed most of it. The VOD's still there, Satrium. You can watch it. Let's shout out Rabbit Candy Void, because he's probably now, as of yesterday, he was too shy of enough to make affiliate, and he would really like to stream Game of Tomes for July. So I'd like to encourage you to go follow him. He's fun. He's a good bean. He was hilarious in the game yesterday. Just easygoing. He's made it clear that his channel is a chill space where everybody's welcome. I approve of that. I try for that myself, and that's awesome. So, definitely looking forward to seeing more of him. So it's cool. Hello, Delian. Good to see you. Good evening. Sitting at 48, he says. All right, so if you haven't gone follow yet, go follow. Satrium says, I don't think I'll find the time to watch it for the next 3 weeks. A lot of stuff I need to handle first. God, I know the feeling. Okay, so today I've decided to give up on the costume challenge. I'm too behind, and I have too many other things to do. If I get time to slip it in after I get these other things done, I will, right? But, right, I'm thinking it's unlikely. Thank you, Dr. PDQ. That's 49. He needs one more. That's awesome. That is awesome. All right. Cayetan says, I would ask you for something. I noticed that technology template needs some changes, so I made a suggestion. Could you take a look and vote if you want? Yeah, let's take a look. Why not? I'm always happy to support community initiatives if I think they're a good idea. I'll definitely look at any community initiatives you guys want me to look at. Don't have any problem. Oh, and you'll be streaming tonight between the two Sable streams. We'll be rating you. So there we go. That's great. I really want to support new streamers. He's already applied to the Anvil Streamer Corps. I believe he's received confirmation. I don't know if his profile's up yet, but, gotta support each other. All right, Rowan, yes, thank you very much. That's awesome. 50, woot! Yay! All right, that is awesome. Speaking of awesome, don't forget that tomorrow is going to be our 500 followers celebration. It'll run 2 to 3 hours, depending on whether I get run out of things to tap dance with tomorrow. Oh shit, and I haven't put it on the schedule, so I better do that in one of the breaks. But yeah, It's 1 p.m. Pacific, 4 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. UTC. We are going to be doing raffles. We have donations of ebooks by a lot of Anvilite author friends that I really hope you'll check out. And, you know, I'm going to give away a book or two as well. And, you know, people have asked me to sing, so I'm probably going to do that. I have to tune up my guitar tonight and wipe off the dust because it's been a little while. So if I flub up tomorrow, you know why. I'm out of practice. I haven't had time, but I'll sing a couple of the songs I wrote and, you know, maybe do some karaoke requests depending, and, you know, we'll chatter, and, you know, maybe I'll read you some of my book depending on what you guys want to do. All right, he's been accepted and his profile should be up, so that is awesome. In that case, I'll make sure to put you on the map because the map is my project. I'm trying to get everybody together. Hello, Bob. Good to see you. Great game yesterday, by the way. That was a lot of fun. The celebration is on the ASC calendar. I did remember to do it. Okay, good for me. I don't even remember what I remembered to do anymore. All right. Well, that's good. I'm relieved to hear it. Shouting out Bob. If you haven't seen RPG Dinosaur Bob's channel, check it out. He does world building regularly in the mornings in American time zones, and he every now and then does a really great one-shot game like he did yesterday, and he occasionally does tutorials about things like how to set up your Streamlabs or your OBS Live, which is what I'm currently running, which is why you were listening to different music. You guys probably haven't queued into it, but this is normally music you will hear on Aaron's streams, and the reason why you don't hear it on my streams is because it's on the Fantasy Sirenscape player, which I could not get to run with any of my other streaming programs because my whole computer would just go, I do not understand, does not compute. So, yeah, so now the fantasy player is running. So this is good. And still, let's see here. Frames per second, drop frames, 0. I love this program. I love it so much. You know, it's a bit of a pain in the ass in terms of some of the things you have to do to be exacting. It's not point here and click stupid, right? You have to fiddle. Obviously, I've had problems with shutting off the wrong mic because of so much more audio. But on the other hand, you have more control, and clearly it's a better program for running. So, yes, Leppin for life there, James. And hugs for Sable, hugs for James, because James is awesome. Delian says, glad to hear that the streaming things are running smoothly. I tell you, this just the stress, just so much less. Okay. All right, so let's see here. What are we going to do? Yes. Okay, so again, Game of Tomes, if you haven't heard, has been transferred to a new website. There it is. First night, Tome Night. Game of Tomes! That's right. There it is. And, you know, go there to follow if you want to keep up on what is going on with the Game of Tomes. The theme that is up, Moonflower would want me to tell you, since they're the designer of the website at the moment, is kind of a temporary theme. There will be alterations. For instance, I'm going to find the fonts I used in the videos, let them know what those were so that they can set it up to look consistent. It's going to be fun. Bob says, I stepped away for 10 seconds to get my headphones and I missed my shout out. Yeah, you missed your shout out. I will add the command to the Tome Night. Excellent. Excellent. That's cool. Also, there are now a bunch of Game of Tomes channels on my Discord. That's how you get to my Discord. You have to scroll down there above the voice channels near the bottom, and there's a whole section there. So, right now I have to manually add you to the Game of Tomes streamer role if you are streaming Game of Tomes, so please ask me. But, Lappin'. And I see, okay, good. The first Tome Night is doing House Lappin', I forgot, so I better take all that stuff out of my Moobot. That's great, because that frees up more stuff for Moobot. Sorry? Why are you sorry? That is awesome, James. That's hilarious. Thank you for letting me know that I have to take it out of my Moobot and reminding me, because, alright, I might do that in a break. Okay, but first we're going to look at Cayetan's suggestion. We're going to get the sprint started in the meantime. I have to capture the Chrome window again, sorry gang. Alright. I filled chat with Lapin. Yes. That's my fault. Because I was, you know, neglectful of my MooBot. So I can take the Game of Tomes command out as well. Okay, will do. This is the suggestion we are looking at from Cayutan. The sprints are started if you're sprinting. Let's have a look. Social impact reaction field for technology template. Currently, the technology template has only the fields for writing about the technical aspects of an invention and how it's used. However, many technologies in real life caused a lot of reactions, both good and bad, in societies. I think there should be a field for this in the template. I know this can be done in the vignette, but adding a field could be a good reminder, especially to new people. This seems to be being enthusiastically supported by a lot of people that I know. Let me take a look at the template here. Oh, and I'm in the wrong world, so I'm gonna switch back to Toysoldier Saga, which means I'll have to put this up again, but I will do that. Yeah, let's take a look at the template here. Because I thought there was a section on history, and that's where I tend to put it. But, you know. Come on, you. Discovery, accessibility, complexity, utility, manufacturing, inventor, parent technologies. You're right. It's not there. Yeah, I think that's a good idea. So I'll vote for that. Thank you for bringing it to my attention. Supported. All right. Cayutan says the template needs some work. It even doesn't show what's in the sidebar. Only utility and manufacturing in that template are in the main body of the article. The rest is in the sidebar. That's true. That is true. I have found that difficult to shift around when I've been working on that particular template. I guess I should put my glasses on, eh? Maybe then I'll be able to see. Actually, I've been catching up on some sleep, so I feel... excuse me. I feel less like I'm having difficulty. It's allergy season. Oh my, I have a lot of World Anvil notifications. Yeah. That's because I never have time to read them. I really try, but every now and then I go, okay, and I spend like 4 hours working on them. I do get to them eventually, but if I haven't responded to your comment, you know why, alright? I will respond to eventually. I respond to almost all of them eventually, and I appreciate them, and please continue to, you know, make your comments. Right, but usually I don't see them for some time unless it's a challenge article and I'm paying attention to feedback, right? So I will get there though, so thank you for every like and comment and everything else. I promise you that I will get to it. The problem is I'm also following a lot of people because there's some neat ideas out there and I love to know about it, so I'm way behind. I tried to weed it down every now and then. Okay. Yeah. Bob says, oh, I was chatting with my players from yesterday. There's a very good chance that Marilyn, Krakaro, Snick 3, and Singram will be adventuring again in August. Excellent. That is excellent, because they were fun. Yeah, Sable follows a lot of folks' worlds. Yes, I do. A lot, right? Pretty much, almost universally, if you've brought me 2 showcases, right, I've probably followed you. 1, I might not. 2, I will. Yeah, because that means that obviously I have an interest in your world, and, you know, so, yeah. You got stabbed yesterday, Cayetane! Woot! I'm, again, happy to report it's like, I don't know, a few days later after my first stabbing, and the only additional side effect I noticed, other that I've mentioned already, other than what I've already said, is that I did some stick training yesterday, and it felt a bit like the minor, really insignificant COVID arm feeling came back a little bit, and I guess it's because, like Jamie said, well, you've got moved blood into your muscles, so you're feeling the bruise more, which, I mean, like, really, I was very lucky. I'm glad you got your first stab, too. I'm very much looking forward to maybe visiting my grandkids for a barbecue for Canada Day. We still got to go outside. Everybody's only had 1 vaccination, but it might be a thing, and I'm, like, very excited about that. Yeah. Very narrow, hollow, and filled with liquid. No side effects. Excellent. That's great. I had very minor ones. I had some minor COVID arm that was like, I've had much worse soreness in my muscles from too hard a workout. And I had like a little, about half an hour period in the evening where I was like, I feel like I'm coming down to something, which is, of course, exactly what you want, right? So I went and laid down. And then I, had a nap for 2 hours and I felt fine. I've been fine ever since, so, yeah. I love Future Scene, James. James says, even me, I felt honored when she followed Future Scene. I like your world. You've got a really clever dystopia going on there. It's really interesting. Bob says, the last 2 members of my household got their second jab yesterday. Yes, I know that there was immune-compromised issues there, so I'm very glad you guys got that done. That is excellent. Yeah, I know you haven't submitted any articles for Showcase yet, Rabbit. Bob got his second shingle stab Friday. That caused more soreness than the COVID shot. Yeah. Arm pain doesn't count. It's after every vaccine. I haven't had arm pain with every vaccine I've ever gotten, right? I mean, okay, like, I'm willing to accept that my memory of vaccinations as a kid is probably meh, but then after my pregnancy, I guess my rubella antibodies were low, so I went in and booked another vaccine for that, and a booster, and that's fine. I should go and get a shingle shot too, actually, because I of course had chickenpox when I was a kid, so I screamed during my vaccines. Aw, you don't like needles? I don't blame you. I mean, that's legit. Lots of people have phobias of needles. And yeah, most of those childhood ones were butt pain anyway, says Bob. I don't remember any of that. I remember school vaccinations, and they were all shots in the arm. Yeah, and that was fine. No big deal. James says, feels pleased a published author likes his stuff. Well, I do. It's good stuff. All right, let's get the showcases going, shall we? All right, so is Daz here? Because Daz is first on my list. If Daz is not, I will skip ahead. Delian says, I think the last vaccine I had before the COVID hit me harder. I recall feeling more sick, but I'm sure the second shot will make up for the first one's lack of side effects. Well, that's supposed to be a thing, yeah. You know, we'll see. Aaron took it really badly. Aaron had the worst side effects of all of us. He had a headache for 3 days. If you have a headache after 4 days, you're supposed to go get checked out because that might be a blood clot, but he's fine. Ah. See, legit. Rabbit says, James, when you get one, think of all of us hugging you. That's right. That's right. James says, I don't mind the needle, but my body is like, this hurts. Tortured mode activated. Gotcha. Yeah, fair enough. Nerve pain disorders will do that. Or, you know, autism, because you react to pain, pressure, and touch in different ways. So, yeah, that makes sense. And I'm sorry to hear that. That sucks terribly. Kayatan says, my mom had her second today and feels good. Excellent. Alright, okay, so the first Tome Knight has the GOT command as well. So I'm going to get rid of that off of my Moobot. That's great, that opens up a lot of slots. Thank you. Awesome, Satrium. Bob says, we are Dazzless. Alright, are we Ink Flame Rider present here? Probably not either. I did not see her in the chat either. Which is kind of sad, because I was looking forward to looking at her Dragon Riders. Dragon Rider outfit. We are inkless? No, I'm not seeing her either. Alright, moving on to James. James has a meta article. This is the one he said. So we're in today's showcases now. So this is one that he says has secret stuff, if I can find it. Let's see if we can. I will put his link in the chat as well. James is always here. I can count on James. I look forward to seeing James every stream, actually. It's cool. It's very cool. Him and Amelie are usually always here, and Delian shows up every Sunday, which is nice, and sometimes on Wednesday, and... Alright. Meta interview. Well, that's a good attitude to have about it. Alright, I don't know. First of all, I'm gonna look for all the hidden stuff. I see, like... links and things. Oh, I'm not finding hidden stuff. Unless it's like Easter eggs in the text. You have an article table of contents, that's cool. Alright, so interview. Where did the name for this world come about? Future seen comes from the contraction the future has seen. There are two ways to take this. One is to think of the future. You should stop the sentence here and start a new one here. There are two ways to take this, period, capital O. One is to think of the future as a person who is giving the information to the present. Another person. Delete another person is just confusing. One is to think of the future as a person who is giving the information to the present. Canon-wise, it means, probably a comma after canon-wise, it means that I, the author, have seen the future and am, not is, warning others about it. In other words, the future has been seen. Cool. Yeah. No ink, no Daz, no bling of any kind, says Bob. That's hilarious. Kayatan says, I am almost always too. Yes, that's true. Kayatan is almost always here too. As soon as I get here, and that's awesome. I look forward to seeing you guys, you know? It's really cool. Rowan is usually here as well, to be fair. Rowan says, Anastasia is always in chat here. She never seems to leave even when you were offline. That's interesting. I didn't know that. I don't pay attention to that kind of thing, so... That's the sprint. That sounds pretty loud to me. I think I should turn that down. What do you guys think? Sparkle Bomb. Hello, Sparkle. How are you? I think the dragon was a little loud to me, or the cheering was a little loud. What do you guys think? Quite loud. Okay, down we go. We'll try this next time here. I haven't had a chance to adjust this setup yet. This is the first time. I know it looks familiar, but that's because you saw it in Streamlabs, and then we recreated it in OBS Live, so I'm still adjusting things. Okay. Lapin, 132 words. Wolves was copying stat block. Excellent. Glitter everywhere. Hi, Sparkle. It's always good to see you. Glitter's fun. I realize everybody hates glitter, but I like it. I like it. I don't care. Because it's cheerful and it's fun. James says, I think there might be two different people like Christmas Carol. Yeah, I get ya, right? I still don't think you need it, right? I think it just makes the sentence a bit confusing. Okay. What inspired your world? My world is a near-future dystopia. Dystopias are there not just as a way for the author to be angsty, but can be a way to warn others of a perceived threat. Yep, they're legit. Consider 1984, period. It warns us, is how I would say it, it's starting a new sentence, not to memory hole things and that big government is an issue. I think you could say that, right? But you probably don't even need that. You might be able to just say, consider 1984, which, by the way, should be capitalized because it is the title of a novel and therefore is a proper noun, right? Yeah, glitter is wonderful in somebody else's house. This says Bob. James says this tiger likes glitter. I like glitter. Glitter's fun. I don't care. If it gets on my face, then I'm cheerful. It's okay. My world is here, I would say. Not there, because it's here. We're reading it, right? This is the future scene site. My world is here to warn of misinformation, period. Capital I, it was us in the old world, and then you explain that, of course, which is good, right? Who allowed our physical sciences in my world to be infiltrated by misinformation from those who did the same with the social sciences. Okay. Well, that's cool. All right. Did you think Future Scene was going to be more than 50 articles on World Anvil? In 2018, when I wrote a Google Doc, I didn't know about World Anvil. I saw sponsors for it, but I always thought it was a paid-for thing. In July 2020, I got a World Anvil account and started writing. I just thought about turning the document into a series of articles and nothing else. It wasn't until I happened across Writer Greg on my 29th birthday. I knew I could ask for help on article ideas and started my work-in-progress document. Nice. Which at present is 10 pages long. Which, at present, is 10 pages long and doesn't just contain Future Scene stuff, it also contains Game of Thrones stuff, Lappin' for life. Awesome. Rowan says, glitter is like toxic waste. It never goes away, and I happen to love to wear it occasionally. Well, that's true. It doesn't. It is bad for the environment. I hope we find something that is, like... We need to get rid of the one-use plastics, guys, unless it's medical supplies, because we got enough of that shit going on in medicine. We do not need it in other things. Okay. On August 22nd, wow, it's amazing you remember these dates, I did a sprint takeover on Writer Greg's stream to ask what questions I should ask about the outside world. What I got instead was a string of helpful article points. Nice. At that point, I didn't think I would have over 50 articles. It still astonishes me today looking at my word count sheet on Google Sheets. Google Docs. Right? As well, it also startles me. Okay, either as well is part of this first sentence, and you need to go comma after Google Docs or Google Sheets as you currently have it, and then as well as, right, as part of the same sentence. Or you need to rephrase the beginning of the second sentence because as well as is a clause, which is a partial sentence. It's not a full sentence, right? That's to get back to work, Growl. How's that for volume? Is that a little better? Should I turn it down some more? There's a company that makes environmentally friendly glitter now. I'm in. Okay. So I would say, you know what, I would put it like this. It still astonishes me today, looking at my word count sheet on Google Docs, and seeing, I wouldn't even use as well as, and comma, and seeing my word count increase from 403, from 403 words to 58K, right? To over 58K, dash, long dash, and that's not including the total of over 75K with tourney of tails, right? That is how I would put that. Delete, it also must be said. That's, you're being redundant, right? I have to thank writer Greg for pushing me, not to push me, right? I have to thank writer Greg for pushing me to write about the Great Rewind. Sable and Hefe Live for continually asking me for the name of the city, which is now Burdencaster. You don't need this comma here before Burdencaster. Cool, I'm glad I was helpful. Comma after Burdencaster, though. And lastly, comma, Sable, probably comma, yeah, for asking about why this world doesn't seem to have issues with copper, comma, which led, that's, you've got lead here, I'm sure it's a typo, just delete the A, which led to the Salvaging Industry series of articles. Awesome. What is your plan for Future Scene? Future Scene Part 1 was always intended as therapy fiction. I would write to help myself out. For example, I might want to be accepted, so I would write a scene in which I was. Oh God, isn't writing therapy for us all? There's a lot more of me in Shondar than I care to admit. Let's just say that. We'll leave it there. You know, granted, I haven't been through a horrifying war, but I do have a diagnosis of PTSD. All right. When Future Scene Part 2 came about, I wanted to make a computer game called, unsurprisingly, Future Scene. It wasn't until I got to writing the Salvaging series of articles, comma, and showcased the meta introduction article, comma, that I soon realized, no period, carry on, that, or I soon realized I could, not can here, I could create this world, comma, and give people rights to make items that are part of their Future Scene IP, as long as I get a royalty, of course. Cool. What made you stop going down the computer game idea? The skill and time aspect is the main issue. I'm still period. Yeah, the skill and time aspect is the main issue, period. I'm still having troubles with BB code to this day. I wrote a new article and would hear a voice saying, comma, you're going to need to build this for the computer game. And that should be a capital letter. Well, I guess it doesn't matter. No, you can leave it like that. Never mind. Dash is what you want there, not a period, and it should be part of the same sentence. Long dash, which I didn't enjoy. What I enjoyed more was writing about forestry, for example. I could imagine myself starting there and describing what I saw during the writing of the article. Period. New sentence. At the time, it was just one long thing. Or that was just one long thing. Right? It's one thing to write a world, it's another to want to stay there. Yeah, true enough. I write all kinds of worlds that I have no interest in being part of. I don't think there's a lot of me in Ramona from my A Divided Country story, says Cayutan. Well, you know, my characters always have a little bit of me in them. Even my villains, I suppose. But they may not be completely me. Like, I go out of my way sometimes to write people who are different from myself, right? So I can give it some distance. Rowan says, in memes and links, there is a link now for the eco-friendly glitter for those who are interested on Sable's Discord. Thank you very much. I am interested. Eco-friendly glitter is good. I'm going to buy lots. Okay. Are there article subjects you will not touch? Yes. I will never touch medical stuff. Not because I'm squeamish. I would say, but more, okay, I would say, but because, right? Not because I am squeamish, comma, but because I know there is going to be one person who is a medical practitioner or a historian who would be like, that's, you need an apostrophe S there, wrong, comma, it would be like this. It also doesn't interest me that much. If I reinserted the hospital, it would be over one, and I would have to look up, I don't know what you mean by one. It would be over one. And I would have to look up how many beds would be in each. I'd also have to think about how the Great Rewind affected medical technology, something that would require me to go to London for its science museum. It actually really doesn't, right? If you want to do like if you ever decide you've changed your mind and you want to do a brief article sort of loosely explaining how medical technology has changed without getting into a lot of detail, which you can, that is an option. You're very detailed on a lot of things, right? But you don't have to be, right? And this is one area where you could do like a general, this is what's happened with medical technology, right? And the way to figure that out, right, depends. Okay, you could ask me to help you, right? I know way more about medical technology than I should. Not because I've studied it, but because of, Aaron's long stay in the hospital. He was in the hospital for 8 months. I spent as much time with him as possible. I practically lived in the hospital. I slept there on occasion. I cooked meals in the microwave there, right? Yeah, I lived there. Rowan know all about that too, because in our current hospital system, because we have had many years of a conservative government, even though they called themselves liberals in my province, and the health authority is provincial, they cut costs wherever they could. One place they cut costs was in care aides. So there were not enough people to see to the needs of any given person, right? There was always like, they don't have time, right? They don't have care aides, and nurses are too busy administering medication and, actually doing health work, right? To actually do things like, get you a pillow when you can't get one. You could be waiting more than an hour for that, right? So we did our best to be there whenever we possibly could and tried to make sure there was one person there at all times so that, if Aaron needed anything, it could be got, right? So, as a result, I know a lot about how modern medical technology works, and I would be, at least from a layman's perspective, and I would be quite happy to help you work out what would change and what wouldn't, right? For instance, there's going to be some big changes if plastic is no longer a thing, right? It's something nobody likes to talk about in the environmental movement, but the fact is much of our current medical system safety depends upon single-use plastics because it's sterile, right? And it's cheap, and, there's no danger of it breaking like glass and causing a potential, disease vector and hazard as it cuts people, right? So there's a lot of things that depend on it. And I don't see an easy way to get rid of that, which is why we've got to minimize what we can, right? So, yeah, right? So yeah, things are going to change depending on that, right? But it doesn't have to be a huge article. Anyway, that was a Shaggy Dog story, but okay. Moon says, I'm getting way too fucking annoyed at my body, but I will not gross you out with the details. I just need to scream that this fucking problem is not fucking okay. Oh, wow, do I ever sympathize. Yeah, I feel you, Moon. Rowan says by the time they let him out, the nurses said we could be practical nurses ourselves. True story. If I ever wanted a job as a care aide, I'm trained, man. No problem. I got it. Alright. I also learned that I hate that kind of work. Hello, Daz. Good to see you. And hello, Macaro. Daz, I've got a showcase holding for you, I think. And I will do it as soon as we're done. I haven't done your Steam Turtle yet, have I? Like, I'll do it, like, that'll be the next showcase. And how are you guys today? Okay, so... Anyway, yeah. To a lesser extent, when I wrote Future Scene Part 1, I wanted to have as little conflict as possible. I didn't like wars, and I didn't want my characters having arguments. Arguments, how I write them, either sound too polite or too academic. It wasn't until I watched Matthew Colville that I thought he was right. Good for you. And we are now dazzled. Yes, that is true, Bob. Yay! So I'm screaming here without saying details. I'm sorry, Moon. Yep, but we're still not inked. Nope, Ink Flame Writer is not here. Okay. You know what? I appreciate this, James, that you recognize the weaknesses in your own writing and are trying to minimize them. Don't let this necessarily deter you, though. I will point out that Isaac Asimov, okay, he's not a very good character writer, okay? He's kind of shit as far as that goes, actually. Really awful. He doesn't understand people at all. His people are always very intellectual. God knows his women are terrible because he never understood them in his life, right? And he, you know, I don't think he knows how to write a normal relationship because I'm not sure he ever had one. On the other hand, his ideas are so cool that you want to read just to find out what the, you know, more about the idea and what the natural consequences of the idea will be, right? Oh, closed captions are not working. Oh shit, thank you for the reminder. Guys, remind me from now, try to remind me to put up the stream closed captions. I forget, and because I'm not used to it yet, it's not a habit yet. All right, let's turn that on. Probably if you refresh now, it should work. I'm gonna put that over here so that I don't forget to shut it off when I'm not using it. Thank you very much for the reminder. Okay, so moving on. It wasn't until I watched Matthew Colville that I thought he was right. Are the nations in your Dungeons & Dragons campaign at war? If not, why not? Matthew Colville, The Politics of Peace, running the game, 24. There should be some conflict somewhere, so when I get there, I'll reach out to Sable for help using her brainstorm redemption. Aw, you're sweet. I can help you. You want fights going on. I'll be glad to tell you where people are going to fight. Yeah, no problem. We got this. You might want to make sure Rowan's in the chat too. She'll have some good ideas. And Barbarossa, because he understands a lot about historical war. Right? So we are all very useful that way. Bob is also useful that way because he understands it in terms of how you can relate it to a game world and how a character in such a world would relate to it, right? So, you know, yeah, you come to the right place. Let's just say that. Last, I wouldn't touch religion, as in the UK, we have laws that can be restrictive, but I'm happy to make up my own as I did with the Johnny Miller article. That makes sense. That makes a lot of sense. James, I'm going to point out to you something that may also... See, science fiction, right? Which is the field you're writing in. A dystopia is a form of science fiction. I realize that some people try to separate it these days, but they're wrong. Dystopias have always been part of science fiction, right? And they... Two of the earliest science fiction novels that I know of, right, are both dystopias. One is called We. It is by Zamyatin, a Russian author, and that's the That's the sprint. I don't remember his first name off the top of my head. I think it was something like Vladimir, but don't quote me. Right. Zamyatin was his last name. I made sure to memorize that because it's an excellent novel, right? And that was written sometime in the early 20th century. And then there's also The Shape of Things to Come by none other than H.G. Wells, who of course wrote The Time Machine and War of the Worlds, right? So, yeah, dystopias. Right? Okay, so science fiction has a lot of room for what ifs. Okay? Anne McCaffrey, who wrote the Dragon Riders of Pern novels and the whole Pern series, right? Which looks like fantasy, is often mistaken for fantasy, but is actually science fiction. Was written, and it's something I never realized until I read her biography that was written by her son. Dragon Rider, it's called, by Todd McCaffrey. Okay? And in that story, right, in the biography, he said that his mother had two principles about things that she did not want on Pern. There was no war, and there was no religion. And that is not something I noticed when I was reading it. It didn't even occur to me, because she found other areas of concern and conflict, things about resource management and astrophysics and getting ahead of, pandemics, right? And stuff like that, right? And it was I never noticed that wasn't a thing, that neither war nor religion were present, but it wasn't. There was none, right? There were occasional armed conflicts between individual people or small groups, but there was never any war, and there was no religion at all. And it worked just fine. I love those novels. The world is complete. It doesn't need it. So maybe you don't need all this stuff. If you can make conflict around other things, right? You've got a lot of stuff where people are very specialized in terms of how they manage resources. And a system like that is vulnerable to things being the supply chain being broken, or resources not being available for other things that need those resources, which can cause a breakdown of the system. I can write about 7 stories out of stuff you've already done, just based on that. No war involved, none at all, right? So you don't necessarily have to do it. I'm just saying. Okay, I realized that was a long soliloquy, but I thought it was an important thing to say. Peacetime 1 had a good argument example. Yes, that was a good argument example, James, and I think it worked just fine. That was a good scene, a good story. I bought it, So maybe you're not as bad at it as you think. Daz says, I liked your Ratman, Rabid. Very funny. I was saying that at the beginning of the stream, actually. Okay. Laria says, and hello, I don't think Matthew means with that quote that it needs to necessarily have a war, but that if there isn't one, you should check your why. Yeah, that's a good point, right? Maybe... Okay, so... There was a thought when the nuclear race began that perhaps war would have to come to an end, because the concept of mutually assured destruction would make it impossible to fight a war. Obviously, that has not proven to be true, but it has limited what we're allowed to do in terms of war. And if people try to do other things, I mean, they do, right? But they gotta either sneak it in or justify it, or, get the United States to say it's okay, basically, right? So, right, the Geneva Convention has outlawed a lot of forms of warfare and limited what we're allowed to use in terms of when we fight one another. And that's the get back to work growl. as it stands, the world, I mean, there's nothing holding anybody to the Geneva Convention except honor and the fact that they know that if they don't at least give it lip service and try, then they are going to be smashed by everybody else, right? It's basically what happened in the Gulf War, right? The reason why everybody got involved wasn't because, I mean, okay, there's all the cynical reasons. Yeah, I think oil was ultimately the driving factor, but one of the reasons why people got involved is because one country invaded another country, right? Without, without provocation, without, they just invaded to take over, right? And that is against the conventions, right? We have treaties that prevent that, so everyone went, nope, you're not allowed to do that, right? Which we should do to Russia for what they're doing in Ukraine, but we don't because we're cowards, okay? Right? And the truth is, Russia and Vladimir Putin are enough of an asshole that, I mean, we know they've murdered people with radiation and poisoning and various nonsense like that, so we know there's nothing to stop them from doing that on a large scale, so that's also why we don't, right? The system is breaking down. Okay. But maybe, okay, my point of all that, maybe there's a technology that prevents people from going to war against each other. Maybe they've developed invasive nanobots that can just turn off your whole body, right? Who knows, right? And or maybe the results of your previous world and the wars that happened after society broke down has made people sign a convention by which they're not allowed to have war, right? Or maybe there's a world government that controls absolutely everything, so there's no power for them to fight, right? There's lots of reasons why you might not have war. In fantasy things, it's much easier. You can have a good deity just, exert divine power and then it'll be fine, right? Yeah, Rowan said I was about to volunteer as well because indeed I'm a good idea bouncer. Yep, that's legit. That's why I mentioned her. Daz says, don't forget peacetime fights where the nobles argue and throw shoes when the king's in court. Yep, there's that, right? There's politics, right? Politics, right? I think it was Clausewitz who said that war is politics continued by another means. Something like that, right? Yeah, right? Politics is war. It's just war that doesn't involve weapons. Okay? Moon says, okay, alright, see you later, Moon, good luck. You're probably long gone by now. Oh, yeah, Emily says, some people want to pretend dystopia is literary fiction. No. Science fiction has been from the beginning. Fuck you, you can't have it. Okay. I'm pleased that I'm in the right place, says James. Emily says, I'm preparing rhubarb to make a tart. Sounds tasty. While listening to the stream, and I think I put purple dots everywhere without noticing. Uh-oh. Laria agrees, dystopia is sci-fi. Many people confuse sci-fi and space opera these days. I mean, like, sci-fi can only be space opera. Exactly. Okay, okay, that's another one of my soapboxes, briefly summarized. The literary types decided that science fiction wasn't literature some ages ago, I guess when the pulp magazines were happening, and my theory for why is because they were competition, right? Cheap competition, kind of like the traditionally published types try to claim that their writing is better quality and more significant than indie writing, which is utter bullshit. And the lines between the two now are so thin, right? With traditional publishers cutting a lot of the services they used to do, like a lot of their promotion and a lot of their editors, right? Like, you can't count on, you can't count on that quality from traditional publishing anymore. So, if it ever was a quality thing, but indie writers get an editor, okay? But, Yeah, it's the same thing. It's classism, right? And so, but then if you wanted to be taken seriously as a literary writer, which is where all the grants were, you had to pretend you weren't science fiction, right? And because Margaret Atwood and others like her pretended that they were literary fiction but not science fiction, because the speculative fiction could actually happen, unlike science fiction, which involves ray guns. By the way, yeah, Ursula Le Guin had no patience for her bullshit on that. There's a great interview where the two of them are on the stage together. Look it up, it's great. Okay, but yeah, it's always been part of science fiction. Anyway, rant over. Okay, Loria says, but this is related to the Matthew quote because the reason there is no war is because of the threads. Yeah, exactly. On Pern, they don't have time for war. If they were at war, there would be disaster because there is an existential threat to the planet that they must unite to fight, right? And they almost have war. Things get really tense, right? And the warlord Fax there starts like taking over a bunch of holds and stuff right at the beginning of the Dragon Riders series, the first trilogy there, Dragonflight, uh, uh, Dragon Quest, and the White Dragon, right? So, um, yeah, it almost gets to war, but fortunately, because people stop believing in this existential threat because it's caused by an erratic orbit of a rogue planet kind of deal, and the rogue planet has been wildly out of sync for a while. It's like, a really long summer on Westeros. So, people went, oh, I don't know, maybe this is legend. No, it wasn't. So, yeah. Oh, hello there, Eli. Good to see you. How are you? How come I didn't hear you had another Kickstarter going, by the way? You should post links. James says, in Peacetime 1, there's an argument scene between me and you, yep, about who to help, us, House Lappin, or them, the people we're ruling over. And what I say is highly academic. I didn't find that at all. Reading that scene, I found that your character was very, concerned about their reactions and the reactions of other people, right? Sounds normal to me. Okay, okay, yeah, that's cool, Eli. If you're doing movie night with Mr. Twinkle, that's great. Siobhan says the dragon's scary. Is it still too loud? By the way, have I heard what Belarus did with a Ryanair plane? No, I have not. Rowan says... Okay, no, she was talking to Eli. Satrium says, it's the way international quote-unquote law works, right? Sure, you can break it, no one will stop you, but everyone will work against you if you do, at least most of the time. Yep. Yeah, Rowan's behind me on the Russian-Ukraine thing. We shouldn't... If the... yeah. Okay, if the Security Council were worth its salt, we would not be tolerating that bullshit. Okay. But yeah. Loria says, and they are crazy enough to potentially use the destruction button, which is a good reason not to attack them. Yes, that's true. And then we have the question of, is it worth living under a boot heel? Because what that means is that Russia runs the world. Right? That's it, right? Because if we're not going to stop them from doing, shit that's, like, troublesome, then, then they run the world. Because everybody's afraid to attack them. Which, I mean... Yeah. Hello, Akimotos. Good to see you. Okay. That's cool there, James. I do that too, actually. I put my, I often write in the bath with my laptop, actually. Put it on top of a bath board. Okay. Akimoto's is here for the rants. Asimov for the win. I like Asimov, don't get me wrong. I'm just saying that that's his characterization is not why people read him. Bob says anything that was popular with the unwashed masses was dismissed by the literati. This has gone on since the printing press. You are not wrong. Akimoto's points out, war is expensive. Yes, that's another good reason not to go to war. And you should only start one when you are fairly certain that you can win. Ah, okay. Yeah, it's also true, right? If the fight is fair, your tactics are bad. Okay, Eli says, I don't have another Kickstarter yet, not till July. Okay. And Siobhan just got here, so that's cool. Yeah, Bob says to Akimoto's, unless you're hoping for the Mouse the Roared will happen. Yeah. Kayetan says, they forced a plane to land to arrest an opposition member. I heard that air traffic controllers were threatening to shoot the plane down if it didn't land in Minsk. Yeesh. Well, this is it. Do we want Russia to run the world, right? Okay. Siobhan says, if the Security Council was worth their salt, we wouldn't have the issues going on in the Middle East at the moment either. Legit. Delian says, my laptop is far too pricey for me to dare to put it anywhere close to the bath. I killed one, literally after it was bought. Okay, why do I do it anyway? Because I spend a good deal of time in the bath, because I have a chronic health condition that being in the bath helps me with, so I generally have long baths daily. It's a lot of time to be spent just sitting in a bathtub, so I use it, right? And because it's beneficial to me to use that time, it is worth the money of occasionally destroying a laptop. So I get cheap laptops that I can, I expect to die, right? Okay, gotta go. Real life. See you, Bob. Thanks for joining us. Kayetan's like, get on with it! It's my stream. I'll do what I want, man. Okay. Loria says, like in most cases, Russia, like the other I won't name to avoid controversy, will run freely until they cross the line with another big power. Attacking little countries is no concern to anyone with power, as history shows. Yeah. Okay. Did the pandemic affect your research? It would be odd if I said it didn't. My military research still requires me to go to HMS Warrior in Portsmouth, as it would be a good way for me to see it when I write. Yeah, always good to go and see things that can help you visualize, right? I went to Barkerville because I wanted to see an Old West town. It was very helpful in writing my Weird West series. Okay, I also went to the range with a friend who, he was in, he's a vet. He's done a couple of tours in Afghanistan. He basically put every gun he had in my hands, from a .45 caliber pistol to a submachine gun of Chinese make, right? And let me fire it all and see what it was like. He had some old-fashioned ones. He had some modern ones. So I now have a much better idea of what it feels like and what you need to do to fire a gun, which is a really important thing in my story about gunslingers. Helpful stuff. Good advice. Okay, I can talk to experts and get answers from them that the internet may have jargon-based issues, such as when I tried to find out how much a kilogram of nickel is worth. That's true. Sometimes you don't know what questions to ask on Google to get the answers you require. What is your writing process? So the process is, get an idea, ask others what the template should be, I often have some idea, what they want to see in the article, then lay it out in Google Docs and fill that in with content. After that, comma, I edit it twice. Then I, in the beginning of that sentence, send it to someone else for edits, change the text, read it back, insert it into World Anvil, add the BB code for the mention system, change the layout so it looks good, add images, add in sidebar text, and lastly, comma, update my word count spreadsheet. After insertion, I go through streamers in this order. Hey, it's AP, Siobhan, Laura Bones, Hefe Live, Raider Greg, Kahuna the Elder, and then end on Sable. AP, why the hell aren't you on the Anvilite streamer course schedule? If you are in the chat, I want to know, because I would like to keep track of when you go live. I would like to see more of you. I realize it's probably at stupid o'clock, but if you're going through things, and that's the sprint, right? If you're going through things in that order, right? If you come on before Siobhan, that's usually, you know, I'm starting to wind towards bed at that time. It'd be a good time to watch you. I don't think AP is here. I know, why not? So, you know, Dillian's like, AP isn't a member of the ASC yet. Why not? Right? That's what I'm saying. Okay. 1500 to 1700 UK time, Monday and Wednesday, Sable. Ah, thank you. That's helpful. Alright, so count an hour back from this. Okay, 1500 is 3 p.m. Right? So there'd be 2 on the schedule. Middle of the day. Okay. We will try to get her at ASC. Yes, yes, you should. Because then I can keep track of that. Thank you. Alright. I'm sure that she's doing world building streams, right? Okay. Were you always a writer? As a child, I would come up with stories. Unfortunately, I would say them while in the presence of the school staff, and then they would get the idea for us to write a story. My stories weren't nice as a child. So I felt restricted, as the school would read my story and be like, okay, we need to call in your parents. My stories weren't... I put nice in quotations. My stories weren't nice as a child, comma, so I felt restricted, comma, especially since the school would read my story and say, okay, we need to call in your parents. Yeah. This may have happened to me once or twice. Okay. Coupled with being dyslexic and hating getting work back that might as well have been covered in red ink. And you can see it took me a long time to get into the writing circle. Yeah, that makes sense. I can definitely relate in many ways, but I suppose I was fortunate in that my school branded me as one of the smart kids, right? So they were willing to extend a lot of leeway to me on a lot of things, and I had a lot of encouragement, especially at an early age, for writing, right? So because my writing skills were well beyond what a typical child of my age would have, right? And it's a combination of factors, but I'm not saying, you know, it makes me super genius or anything. I'm just saying this is the situation, so, right? But I wrote a story, you know, I wrote occasional stories where people were looking at me like, you know? Okay. Yeah. Didn't she say she didn't want to do ASC? I don't remember why. Okay. But I wish she would, because then I would be able to keep track. Doing mapping streams with Word or Anvil showcases. Cool. Good to know there, Satrium. Daz, such a comment. What comment was that? Not to mention the feel for the difference between black power and modern power. Oh, powders. Okay. Black powder and modern powder. Yeah. Fair enough. Okay, I see why I see why the comment, but yeah, that's not what she meant. Yeah, there's a difference, right? Older powders are not as reliable. They're smokier. Yeah, it's interesting. Yeah. Black powder kills a lot of people. Yeah. Emily said, Inkflame said she's busy today and can't watch the stream. Okay, we'll catch up with her on Wednesday then, no problem. How many wars would have been started due to such a minor detail? Yeah, good point. Akimoto says, I did draw spaceships when I was 6 to 8 years old. That's cool. I used to make spaceships and space stations out of electronic styrofoam packaging that were sized for my Barbies because they wouldn't buy me any space Lego. So I built it out of like, I built it out of. I had things like hydroponic gardens. I was such a nerd. Okay, let's get back to work, Rawl. James says, I had weird intelligence in primary school, so I would act odd and have random intuitions and sound intelligence for a second. This is a pretty common thing for autistic people, right? And this is why I say I don't know whether my issue is that I have central post-traumatic stress, which is a possibility, or whether it's that I am autistic, right? But one of the things that I was like that too, right? Sometimes, I would really, I remember I wrote a poem about Remembrance Day that was entered into a contest and it won the provincial level, even though we'd misheard and it was actually an essay contest. But they, so anyway, I got a prize. I read it before the school, and my teacher looked at me and she said, "How did you know?" Because I guess I got what war was about. So, Mikaro, my wife, that armor looks really boring. Mikaro, me, perfect. Armor should be boring. Generally, if it's too fancy, it's not as effective. All right. Real generalization, but there you go. Emily says, Akimoto says, I started reading Asimov's Foundation trilogy, but it was too complex when I was that age. Yeah, I had the same problem. Yeah. Emily says, for AP, it may have been that she felt what she's doing is not directly World Anvil. We should ask her again. Yeah. Akimoto says, so I did finish when I was 8. Awesome. Satrium, okay, yeah. Siobhan says, I have written a story when I was 10 that started from a partial line taken from Anne McCaffrey's Dragonflight, and lo and behold, I created a story similar to the original, though I had never read the books. That's neat. Okay, see you later, Eli. Why not both autistic and PTSD? Yeah, that's possible too. The problem is it's very difficult to diagnose at the age that I'm at, and it's very difficult for anybody to take me seriously about, look, this is a problem, there's something wrong in my life, because people keep telling me, oh, but you seem like you're capable and fine. Delian says, I used to draw battles by making little dots of different colors on paper in kindergarten, but I was discouraged by the kindergarten people from doing it since it just looked like scribbled madness. See, this is why we all get along, okay? We all have the same traumas, because we're all, in ways probably too smart for our own good, Okay, James says, now I am quiet. Either I speak because I'm annoyed, or because I have something to say to someone or myself. That's legit. Hey, Brian, good to see you. How are you today? Yep. Loria says, I grew up with Foundation and Asimov robots. Yep. Foundation is so good, says Brian. Couldn't agree more. Right? Loria says, I think this has colored my vision of robots and AI very differently than most people. Yeah. Cayutan says, you look normal. The worst thing you can say to an autistic person. Yes, I'm sure I do. I'm sure I look fine. But, and by the way, I'm a big fan of the term neurodiverse. I like that term. There's nothing wrong with autistic people. They just don't think the way that a lot of other people do, right? The assumed standard. And let me tell you, I know enough people who are on the spectrum that it's like, it's like having an unusual color of eye. It's like being it's not even like being albino. It's more frequent than that. It's like having I don't know, the bright red hair and the pale skin and freckles. It's not like it's common, but it's not uncommon either. It's just that we've assumed a different default, right? So I like neurodiverse, and because mine is difficult to diagnose, that's the term I tend to use, right? So, My diagnosis is officially PTSD. Okay. Yeah. Okay, I'm gonna get back to work on this, guys. Oh, gallbladder removed on Friday afternoon, so I'm recovering from surgery. That's rough there, Brian. Yeah, Rowan can relate to that. She had emergency surgery for her gallbladder a couple weeks, like a couple years back, few years back now. That was, she had a rough time, so I sympathize. Okay, I'm getting on with it. In my college days, I would write articles on topics I wanted to see as part of British life, such as a bank that was open later, and on bank holidays, and open to all bank accounts. No doubt, we need that. It's odd for a writer such as myself to say this, but I'm a faster writer than I once was, and I can now turn out about a maximum of 14 articles in a month. That's more than I do, man. When I started, it was about an article a month, if that. I'm finding it harder to have ideas now and have dry spells more easily. You don't need the now there. I write by seeing it, so I have a list of items, and if I can't see it, I won't go down the route of writing it. Were there any articles you had imposter syndrome on? Every writer gets imposter syndrome, period. Mine was on forestry. New sentence. I felt that people who lived in areas that had a forestry industry would poo-poo my article and not enjoy it. I was wrong, of course, thanks to Siobhan for the comment and like. Yeah, I don't think I've seen your forestry article yet. I'll take a look. I live in BC, right? And, like, the town next to me basically was founded on forestry. So I'm not a forester and I haven't worked in the industry, but I've picked up a lot of information by osmosis. So I'm sure that you can write something that works for the common person easily. Siobhan grew up in Vanderhoof, which is a place that also depends on the forestry industry. So I'm sure she was very helpful to you. Dealing's like, dang, I've only gotten like 2 articles out this year. Yeah, I do, yeah, I don't do any 14 articles a month. Is it true that you planned for World Ember 2021 in February 2021? Yes, I did, yes. Do you find World Ember easy? Yes, I am an overwriter, so I'll use 12 words when 5 would do just as well. Yes. I also like putting in tables for pretty much anything. This year's World Ember for me, I will be writing about transportation and trade items. Last time I found I hadn't planned for it, so this year I have, comma, but quite a bit earlier. Period. Capital T. This year's World Ember will lead into a military conflict in March. As in July, I will be writing Season 2 of Game of Tones and editing it in February. There is a new member of World Anvil who is a freeman. Got any advice? I'm a freeman too. One point is that we have a limit of 175 articles. You will feel like that's not a lot of articles and will feel like you will burn through them. You won't. It's hard to burn through them all. Yeah, and you know what? If you've burned through 175 articles, and you've got a bit of an audience, maybe it's time to consider an upgrade to Journeyman, right? The cool thing about World Anvil is that you don't actually have to have any of the paid levels to do what 90% of people are going to do with World Anvil, right? 175 articles, like you've said, is more than enough to write a book, right? Or write keep a couple of campaigns going for your D&D world, right? If you've got a campaign that's been going for 20 years and you need more, then you upgrade when you run out of articles. It's, and so on. That's how you should do it, right? Upgrade when you're ready. That's, Janet and Demi's advice constantly, and they're right. Okay, don't be afraid to ask for help. Have a permanently drafted article with the document template. The point to this is to test BB code, and with the document template, you can test what the document will look like without sticking it to the actual article. You don't need this phrase, and with the document template. The point to this is to test BB code, comma, and you can test what the article... Actually, the point to this is to test BB code and, comma, you can test what the article will look like without sticking it to the actual article. It can then also be a plan article that no one else sees. Lastly, don't be afraid to put your stuff out there and to have it showcased. Also, comma, if people badger you for the answers, that is not a bad thing, period. capital I. It just means another article needs to be created. You will feel annoyed at the start, but at the end, you will be pleased that you made the choice to make the article. Have you got any other projects going? I write my character story in the Game of Tomes story universe, and I have many buildings and interiors to finish in Minecraft. I am currently building the headquarters of House Lapin in Minecraft. Which reminds me, I need to give you writer access so that you can write stuff for Game of Tomes, and if you like, transfer articles over. You don't have to, but you can if you want to. If you would prefer that your Game of Tomes work be hosted on the Game of Tomes site, we'd be happy to have it. Right. What can we expect from your world in the future? And if you don't want it, that's fine. I'll just link your articles instead with the article block function. Not a problem. Okay, what can we expect from your world in the future? You can expect at least one new military conflict. I just need to write the situation document for it and redeem Sable's brainstorm redemption. Yes, you can. Yep, you can expect a whole bunch of new articles that I wrote during the Tourney of Tales in April, period. I think I'm up to 17 articles that will be inserted when I put them up. Awesome. And finally, why House Lapin? Comma after finally. Right? The story goes like this. It is November 2020, and I'm about to make my first word report in Greg's stream. I have narrowed my choices down to House Lapin and Millie's. I think Millie's looks cool. It's like a melee, as in a melee weapon. I realized that this was not the case and couldn't pronounce it. For sheer luck that I couldn't pronounce it, I go for House Lapin. I then decided that if Lapin were to fall, I would go to Millie's. Neither did I know that by the time Lapin did fall, Millie's had already fallen for about 15 days. I can't insert this into my character's story, as it has already been written to be that I was already loyal to House Lapin even before I started playing Game of Tomes, so it wouldn't make sense for my character to be loyal then and enlist for the Badgers. I am pleased I made the Game of Tomes more fun for others, and that I increased the recruitment for Lapin higher because of my obsessive loyalty to House Lapin. You are one of our most solid people. You're probably our most solid person, so I really appreciate it, James. You're awesome. I'm going to break this paragraph down for you or these 3 paragraphs, because there's some tense issues, like present tense, past tense. Pick a tense and stick with it. That's the first one. If you want to go with present tense, right, which is how you started, right, then it would go like this. It is November 2020, and I'm about to make my first word report in Greg's stream. I have narrowed my choices down to House Lapin and Millie's. I think Millie's looks cool. It's like a melee weapon, as in a melee weapon. I realize, no D, that this is not the case, and I can't pronounce it. For sheer luck that I can't pronounce it, I go for Lapin. I then decide, no D, that if Lapin was to fall, I would go to Millie's. Period. Neither did I know that by the time Lapin would fall, but by the time Lapin would fall, Millie's would already have fallen for about 15 days. Or little did I know, I think is what you're looking for there. Right? Or if you want to do it in past tense, it was November 2020, and I was about to make my first word report in Greg's stream. I had narrowed my choices, not have, down to House Lapin and Millie's. I thought Millie's looked cool. It was like a melee, as in a melee weapon. I realized that this was not the case, and I couldn't pronounce it. For sheer luck that I couldn't pronounce it, I went for Lapin. I then decided that if Lapin were to fall, I would go to Millie's. Neither did I know, little did I know, either way, starting a new sentence, that by the time Lapin did fall, Millie's had already fallen for about 15 days. So your tenses switch back and forth so much that you could, you're going to have the same amount of work no matter whether you switch it to past tense or present tense, but pick one. And this is cool. Thanks for sharing that there, James. Dingies. I hear dingies. Oh, thank you. Lapin for life, indeed. Can I keep your showcase for Wednesday? I will be going to sleep soon. Yes, I absolutely can, Kayetan. I'm sorry I didn't get to it today. We are marking James as complete. Daz is next on the schedule. And if Inkflame isn't going to be here, then I guess that'll be Laria for the 3rd. So, catching up on the chat I've missed, and then I'm going for a break. Actually, hell with it. You know what? I see I have 15 seconds left on the sprint timer. So I'm going for a break. I will see you guys in a minute. We'll catch up a bit on the chat when I get back, and then I'm going to actually do some work. Alright. See you in a few. Alright, and we are back. Sorry about that, gang. I'm not going to try to catch up on the chat. So if you've got something important that you wanted me to, you know, read out or say, let me know. How dare Sable be late to her own break. No, I talked to the boys for a minute, so that was what happened there. Because we had to make plans. I basically got to quit right on time and run out the door in order to be back in time for my game, because we need to go to the store. So, okay. So, I'm putting together my Kickstarter, and this is what I need to be working on today. Now, I've done 2 successful Kickstarters in the past. Am I going to have to reload this damn page again? Okay, probably. Looks like. I know how Spotlight works. I don't need Spotlight. Reload. I have already sent people to my Weird West world. Silly thing. This is the old Kickstarter page. I probably should update this. But this was my first Kickstarter. This was for Once Upon a Time in the Weird West. And I asked for $1,250 Canadian, and I got 1,500, so that was pretty good. Just little Kickstarters, right? And then the second Kickstarter I did was for the anthology that I edited and published, called Gunsmoke and Dragonfire. Okay, James says, I would prefer my Game of Thrones stuff not be on James' multiverse, as I want to put more adult stuff on James' multiverse. Legit, okay. Just a second here. We will just go and do that in a moment here, but this is my Kickstarter for Gunsmoke and Dragonfire. Right? I asked for 1,500 and got 2,200. I almost made my stretch goal. Of course, one person who did a big pledge at the last minute turned out to not pay. There's a caution for you when you're dealing with Kickstarters. Ask for more than you need, because people may not actually keep their pledges. And if you're counting on that money, right, then, right, you're kind of screwed. So that was something I kind of learned the hard way there, because I was like, oh, well, you know, hey, I've reached our stretch goal, but because he didn't pay, I hadn't. He, she, they, I don't really know. Okay, James also says, I have a list which I funnel streamers down. I'm going off the list, hence this article. I believe I got scared for like a couple of weeks because you said something that scared me. But that was when I didn't know your reviewing style at the time, December 2020. I am Granny Weatherwax, okay? Right? Granny Weatherwax says things in blunt and sharp ways, but it's always out of love, right? So, you know, just keep Granny Weatherwax in mind when you're dealing with me doing critique, and you're good. That is the sprint for those of you who are sprinting. I am going to the, where are we here? Tools. No, that's not what I wanted. World settings, that's right. Everything's moved around all the time. Okay, access. Remind me again what your World Anvil username is, and I will add you, and then you should be able to just transfer everything over. Is it James Woodwright? Suppose if I put up your link, I would find out. Okay. Okay. And I'm going to give you editor access, so you don't have to ask me about, like, you don't have to get me to okay any change you make. there you go. You now have access to the Game of Tomes world, and you can feel free to transfer your articles over. You should be able to open them up, and then on the editing screen, you'll see, like, let's see here. I'll open up an article, and then I'll show you if you've never used it before. Oh, yeah, like you are on Synagazia. Exactly there, Daz. So we'll open up the Game of Tomes conflict. This is, you know, the World Anvil tutorial part of the stream, right? Okay, so you go down here, you go to Open Advanced Tools and Options, right? And then I believe it's under Special Actions. Move article to another world, and then there will be a drop-down menu. You select what world you have access to that you want to move it to. You hit move, and it'll just move it. Done. No problem, right? If you've got tables or anything, though, you're going to have to recreate those tables in another world, right? Or in the world that you move it to. But maps and everything else will just transfer over, including your child articles, your links, as long as you move all the relevant articles over. So yeah, easy peasy. I was surprised at how simple the system was. Rowan's going to take a nap. Fair enough. I'll see you at the game, hun. James says I hard code tables, so so never mind tables. Yeah, okay, if you hard code them, then they transfer over just fine. If you don't, like, use the table function, I have to recreate a couple of tables in Game of Tomes because they're tables of the streamers for different events. So I gotta do that. That's something that's on my list. Okay. I gotta transfer that because I still have to make some edits to the sessions tonight. Okay, so I've got the showcases lined up, but first we're gonna do some work on the Kickstarter. I'm increasing my original prices for things in the Kickstarter. These were both Kickstarters for books, right? And they were small scale Kickstarters, right? I'm noticing that, like, a lot of other people ask for a little bit more than they need for each of the Kickstarter rewards, right? Because they're trying to, like, you know, accumulate the starting money to do things with, right? So I think I'm going to be doing that this time. I'm creating different levels, right? But, you know, again, you can support it for as little as $1 Canadian, right? Depending on, you know, what you want to do. So the problem I always have with stuff like this is thinking about what's appropriate for each level, right? What are people interested in? As you can see, I'm using the rank titles of my navy for the titles of the different rewards. That's the Get Back to Work growl, by the way. I've also, they've done something new since the last time I did a Kickstarter, because I think my last one was more than 2 years ago, right? They have these things called add-ons, and what you can do is you can add these on to an existing reward, like, say, you know, yeah, and they're usually things that you don't think are, you know, good enough for a reward on their own, but if they added it to something else, then, you know, it would be something cool that they could additionally get, right? What? You don't see it as a Freeman? Are you kidding me? It should be there. Is that something you can't do? Just a second, I'm gonna check that. I'm sure that worldanvil.com. Okay, World Anvil pricing. Right, because that's how you get to the guild page, which tells you what you have features for. I mean, you should, once you get there anyway, have all the access that I do in Game of Tomes anyway. Right? Okay, worlds, universes. Oh, do you have more than 2 worlds? James, would Game of Tomes be a 3rd world for you? Because if so, probably won't work. Because any world you have, oh, well, that's the problem. Any world you have editing access to, then it counts as a world. I will try changing your access to writer and see if that might work. World Anvil is having issues? Not that I'm currently noticing. Let's see if I can do it that way. Future Scene and JTMV are the ones I created, so Game of Tomes would be my 3rd. Okay, so we're going to try going back to authors. I'm going to remove you as an editor, and I'm going to try adding you as a writer and see if that will work. Ah! Feature trickle down, as promised, 2019. Another feature trickle down, smile. This can be a great way for people with private worlds to take part in public challenges. Moving articles between worlds is now available to all guild members. So moving articles between worlds is not available to freemen. Well, shit. Okay, James. In that case, we're going to try this, right? And then, because you can't have a world as an editor, I don't think. I can advance that later if I need to. Yeah, so I guess what's going to happen is you're going to have to open up a template that is similar to the template you originally used and directly copy paste everything into the fields. It doesn't take that long, but you can do that if you want. Or I can link it to your, yeah, if you want to move it. You're welcome to do that. Okay. All right, now I gotta get to work. So, yep, that's exactly what I decided to do, Siobhan. That makes sense. So since I'm using Navy ranks as the titles of my Kickstarter, because hey, that's fun and it, increases flavor, right? Yeah, also making him advanced writer will make sure he can edit his articles even after publication. Okay. Thanks, Satrium. Bob says, real life defeated again. I'm back. Welcome back. James says, yes, I will do that. I will do that tomorrow on Greg's if I have little motivation for my wolf article. Thanks, Sable. Awesome. That's great. Anytime. It's no rush, right? Poor puppy's exhausted. That's good. Okay, so working on the Kickstarter, we're going to create a new reward. This one is going to be called Midshipman. It's going to be worth 25 bucks. And I don't know what I'm doing for it. That's the problem, right? Coming up with what you're doing for the different rewards. Using the other ones as reference, which is why I've got them open. Audio files is probably the next one, eh? Okay, assuming I do a chapter a month, a few good elves is... Yeah. Down to business. Okay, we'll call it 44 chapters, including the flash forward in chapter 1 and the epilogue in chapter 44. So... that's a long time, isn't it? $24 for 2 years, 36, leaving 8 more months. I have to think about this just a second here. Ugh. Okay. So I think I better estimate that. Let me see. How far ahead can I go? Oh, not bad, actually. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, okay. No, that's way too much. You get audio files that you can keep of me reading The Queen's Dirk, because that is shorter. Puppy was awake for over 24 hours while camping. That's hilarious. Emily says, productive evening for me. Since the stream has started, I've done my laundry, prepared all my rhubarb, and dirtied all the kitchen. Now it's 11 p.m. Time for dinner. You eat late too, eh? I eat late a lot. Break timer sprint, lap in, 111 words, wolves from James. Good job, good job. Low-level antagonists, nice. For James's wolves. 44 months is nearly 4 years, says Siobhan. Yeah, so I think that'll be a much higher level reward to get me reading the whole damn book. Yeah. I hope they get to eat people, says Amelie about James's wolves. Bob says, I actually had a decently productive day. I took stock of all the articles on shops and people in one of my villages, identified what still needs to be built out, tagged and categorized everything, also categorized a raft of other articles for settlements. Awesome. I chilled chats, says Daz. James says to Amelie, okay, you might not have seen on Aaron's stream, I said I had an idea for one shot after the event. Yes, the wolves will attack people in the one shot. They are murderous wolves. Nice, says Amelie. Satrium says, I did not expect to do much progress on this article today, but I wrote a solid 700 words. Good work. Amelie says, no, I hadn't seen. I had the stream muted since I was drawing and watching some documentaries. Daz says, did you see the new World Anvil blog with our one-shots in it? No, I did not. Let's have a look. Mine probably isn't in there because it ain't finished, but we'll have a look. World Anvil blog. I love all the small summaries we get. Cool. Okay. Makes all the one-shots sound awesome. Nice. Mikara says, I have to put the why all the chemical treatments part in the exploration section. Yes, I even arg, says Daz. That's the sprint. Downburn Mystery by Isaac Thompson. These are all 5e ones. Hidden Angel by Ketka Jacko. Maninian's Item Extravaganza by Jared. A God Stole Grandma's Cookbook by The Changeling. I'm very intrigued by the title. Sweet Dreams by Dazzling Cat. Strongholds and Felines by River Fang. Prologue, A Pale Night by Heart. The Winter Goddess's Sweater by Empuel. How Gronklin Got Its Groove Back by Loyalair. The Haunting of Raven's Hollow by Gilly Maya. Mystery of Thorngage Manor by Sam Saratag? I don't know. Loss of Faith by World Keymaster. The Night Sun Festival by Elysium. Wyvern Racing by P.I. Paints. Drumstone Cave by Snake Venom. D&D one-shots for D&D 5e and other editions. Theater of the Soul by Cogito. Pathfinder one-shots, Golden Beginning by Magata. Meg Suri Cannot Be Dead by Azuniv. Welcome to the Feywood by Dinosaur Bob. Airts and Anchors by Sable Radia. Cool. Rough Start in Waldron by Dragon. Free TTB one-shots for other systems. Starfinder one-shot. This is great! What a cool roundup! Oh my god, I gotta retweet this. Okay, I'm gonna read that more thoroughly later. I'm putting this link in the chat so people can check it out. Oh, Emily already did it, and I wasn't paying attention. Okay, sorry for being redundant. I mean, I got pirate jargon in mine, says Daz. Rabbit says, so OBS says I'm at 50 followers, but Twitch is only giving me credit for 47. The only thing stopping me from applying for affiliate is 3 followers. And as Dillian says, Twitch can be a bit slow updating the stats. You may have to wait a couple of days, but they will eventually update it, and they will take note. Yeah. It could be a few hours, it could be a couple days. I'm too fast for you, says Emily. You are. That is really neat. Emily says I ate late because it's the time it takes me to get the motivation to get out of bed and do anything. Legit. That is really cool that this is a thing. I'm definitely going to look at it. Alright, let's quickly do Daz's showcase, the Great Steam Turtle. I understand that she's still working on stats for it. That's fine. That's not what I'm here to check. So we'll... Alright, here we go. Great Steam Turtle. I guess they didn't have a turtle, the bastards, eh? You had to have a snail? That's no fun. Do you think I will get to your article before 30 minutes? I will need to go to bed around that time. Maybe, Laria. The stream has to end at 4, right? And that is 45 minutes. So, just a moment here. Alright, sorry about that. I thought someone was knocking on my door. It's normally when you go to bed, so it's fine. Okay. And frankly, I might not, right? I might not get to it until the next stream. I'm gonna try, right? But guys, I got a limit as to what I can do. And if one article takes me a really long time, then it makes me less able to do the other two, right? So I do my best. Okay, Terror of the Sea. Turtle ho! The lookout in the crow's nest yelled down to the crew below, one arm waving wildly at what looked like a barren island rising out of the sea. Cut the nets! Captain Redhill yelled to the crew of his fishing boat. By the gods, men, cut the nets and make all sail. Excerpt from No Mercy at Sea. Good pictures. Great steam turtles are sea creatures that never stop growing and never grow old. The only natural deaths they suffer are from disease, being eaten, or starvation. The latter happens when a steam turtle gets too big to catch enough prey. The only thing that eats a great steam turtle is another great steam turtle. This is a very good thing, as otherwise the seas would be emptied of life, as they will eat anything and everything that moves in or on the water. You need to break up that sentence with some commas. This is a very good thing, comma, as otherwise, comma, the seas would be emptied of life, comma, as they will eat anything and everything that moves in or on the water, as you've put it. Yeah. Hey, Aegon, good to see you. How are you today? Algae blooms, schools of fish, plankton blooms attract larger schools of bigger things that come to eat them. It is these schools of bigger things that attract steam turtles. That's kind of awkwardly put. I would say algae and plankton blooms and schools of fish attract schools of bigger things that come to eat them. It is these schools of bigger things that attract steam turtles, period, which you don't have there, typo. The biggest and possibly the oldest great steam turtle ever found had a shell a mile long and a half a mile wide. Beasts of steam. Turtle steam. Nice, that's lots of steam. Smoke! The sailor called out gleefully as he sighted down his Realista at the enemy ship that had just disappeared in a cloud of white. Realista, I like that. His glee turned to shock as a great green beak poked out of the cloud, gaping wide. Wish I'd thought of that term, by the way, Realista. The enemy ship foundered in that gaping beak. With a thunderous crunch, the beak closed, splintering the enemy warship in one bite. "Turtle!" he screamed, the dread sinking his stomach down to his ankles. Other sailors echoed his scream. "Where?" Commander Starlight demanded. "Away the listas!" the captain yelled, not waiting for orders from the Commodore. "Clear the deck and make all sail! Helm full to port and catch the wind! May the gods save us! Catch that wind!" From the battle, no one won. Neat. Okay, technical aspects of sailing, which I can help you with, which not many other people can, because I've researched this. You don't want to, I'm trying to figure out the right term. You don't want to make all sail if you're going to make a sharp turn to port while you're doing it. Not right away, right? You want to, see, because the problem with that, right, is that if you make all sail, you're going to end up capsizing the ship, right? Because it's going to spin over like this, and yeah, it's not good, right? You kind of need to, okay, you're turning to port, so you're turning left, right? If you're doing that, you need to, the sails on the port side, for the most part, not all of them, it's not exclusively, but mostly on the port side need to be, need to catch the wind, braced, right? And you need to luff, which is loosen up, on the right side so that it turns like this. But it's not universal because there's some middle sails that need to be also braced so that you can, not capsize the ship, right? So, and he wouldn't say helm full to port and catch the wind, because the helm doesn't catch the wind. The helm deals with the rudder, and that's, that's what the wheel turns, and which presses out of the cells, which right? So, how would I say that? I might say it like this, just to avoid the, trim the sails, hard port. Yeah. Yes, that's probably how it should be said. Clear the deck and trim the sails. Hard to port and catch the wind, which would cover both the helm and the sails. There we go. Thank you very much, Siobhan, for the help. Yeah. Okay. Like I said, you're not going to get that from anywhere else, and nobody else but fucking nerds like me would know that shit, right? Nobody. Yeah, the objective is to turn and get moving straight downwind ASAP. Exactly, right? It's just the technical way they describe sails, right? And the way, yeah. Okay. From their nostrils, steam turtles breathe out billowing jets of hot steam. This creates a blinding screen to slow the escape of any prey. 2 pouches in its neck can hold the steam that older steam turtles are careful not to use up all at once. Young steam turtles tend to let all their steam out in one great attack until they learn to control it. Yeah, I can totally see it. That's great. Great steam turtles do not reach breeding age until they are 100 years old, and females then won't breed again for another 100 years. After mating, the females dive deep to the deepest, or I would say dive to the deepest parts of the ocean. If the deep and deepest is repetitive, right? The females dive to the deepest parts of the oceans where there are hot sulfuric vents to lay their eggs. I'm usually better with grammar, but I'm rushed today. So let me see here. Deepest part of the oceans, comma, where there are hot, sulfuric vents to lay their eggs. These eggs, comma, which are about a foot long and incredibly tiny for such a massive creature. Don't use are, because then you don't have to include extra commas and shit and can shorten the sentence. But, no. Okay, sorry. These eggs, which are about a foot long and incredibly tiny for such a massive creature. Then we're going to talk about the eggs from that point. But you don't. At that point, you're changing the idea in the sentence, and now you're talking about the laying of the eggs, which is a different thing, right? I would put it... The eggs are about a foot long and incredibly tiny for such a massive creature. Comma, however, comma, they make up for it by laying hundreds of eggs. That's how I would put that. Good night, James. Thanks for joining me. See you tomorrow, probably, which is unusual. It takes a month for the eggs to hatch. Once they hatch, the baby turtles will devour all the creatures living around their hatching vent. They have no need for air, as they are able to survive on the sulfuric steam. Neat. This ability lasts only a month. After this month, they fill their neck pouches and lungs with the steam from the sulfuric vent, and swim the long way up to the surface, where they will begin breathing air for the rest of their lives. Neat. I need to stop waving where the streamer can't see me. Aegon points out also naval commands could be different for her world. They could be, but if they are, right, then she'd need to explain that in a different article, right? And consistently, she's been using the commands that have been accurate to the age of sail in our world, right, in other articles, and I know that, so that's why I'm, like I said, I'm being nitpicky here, and I'm only doing it because I know I have some specialized knowledge that can be of help in this particular department. Like I said, nobody but fucking nerds like me would even think anything of it because it sounds like the right language, right? There's always going to be someone, right? So, don't change it if you don't want to. Doesn't matter. I'm not married to it. I'm just letting you know for the future if you want to know. Okay. Treasures Beneath the Seas. These are great pictures. Nitpicky is good. We're fucking nerds now. If you are not a fucking nerd, you're on the wrong channel, my friend. Yeah, totally. This is Nerdville here, okay? Right? I can't even imagine why someone who isn't a nerd would be watching me. I don't know what I would have to tell them, you know? I can't talk to them at parties, so why would they come watch me on Twitch? Nerds be here, same with geeks. No, we're fucking nerds. Okay, that's cool, PDQ. Awesome. Alright. I will not marry into any pod that cannot afford a turtle egg feast for our wedding. I don't care how close to the king they are. The shame, father! The shame is just too much. A young merfolk maiden protesting who her father has chosen for her to marry. It would be more apropos to ask when aren't we nerds? Legit there, Aegon. To the undersea folk, steamed turtle eggs are considered a delicacy to be served for great momentous events, like coronations and noble weddings. The search for the eggs, which can be tricky, as vents tend to go cold, comma, and females lay only once every 100 years, can also be a means for a young royal heir to prove themselves worthy of the crown. Neat. When the rivalry for the crown gets intense, some heirs are required to hunt down a baby steam turtle. This is a deadly challenge. It tends to change to the heir who comes back alive, successful or not, getting the crown. I don't understand that sentence. It doesn't make sense to me. Are you trying to say, I don't think I'm going to read that one on air there, Siobhan, but it's fucking funny. Okay. All right. Yeah, I don't really understand this sentence. Are you saying that it changes the heir, or are you saying it changes their status? Either way, yeah. Anyway, this is cool. I think I already liked this, I guess. Because it says remove like. I must have read it after. I see there's been some changes, though. Looks great. It's awesome. Okay, we're going to do Lauria's article now. Then I'll tell you what, guys. Because I haven't gotten anything done except for showcases on this particular stream, I don't really see the point of trying to spend 10 minutes after I'm done messing around with trying to get, like, Kickstarter stuff done, so maybe I'll end the stream early depending if Rabid wants to go up, because then I can get to the store faster. So, alright, this is Lauria's article. Greenleaf Master Armor. Armor needs a capital letter. Are you wanting me to do grammar checking and whatnot, Lauria, while I'm doing this? Rabbit can go up whenever I need. Awesome. Okay. So yeah, I think that's what we're going to do. We're going to finish Lauria's article. Well, do you want me to? Right, is what I'm asking. It's not really if I want, right? It's more like, is that something you would find helpful, or do you care? Right, a lot of people do ask me for grammar checking, and I help them when I can, but if you don't want, then I don't have to do it, hon. It's all good. If it's helpful. Bob says, okay, you asked for it. Average depth of the vents you're talking about is 1,500 meters. I don't know anything about these vents, so I will totally take his word for it. At that depth, pressure is 150 atmospheres. If you fill a balloon or a neck pouch at that depth, it's going to want to expand to 150 times its size as you surface. How could she deal with that then, Bob? What could she do to modify the steam turtles to help with that? Lauria says, I have no problem with it, but I don't want to put more on you than I should. No, that's fine. I assume that I do grammar editing, and like I said, I'm already not going to do anything else for the stream, so that's totally fine. Pressure release valves suggest PDQ. That makes sense. Okay, so I will. I just didn't want to do it if you didn't want me to do it. Like, if you're like, why are you nitpicking my grammar, right? So, okay. So capital A on armor, because it is part of the proper title of the thing, and therefore it's a proper noun. Okay. I love the images, by the way. I scrolled down to have a look, and you've done some really good work with WorldForge here. Also, I like your taste in the theme. I've probably said this before because I use the same one. Okay. There are no records regarding where the master uniform was found. The first and only mention in the old records that are still legible mentions the artifacts were equipped by 2 bold members of the expanding Navarrene army back when Greenleaf was a frontier settlement, aiding the country expansion towards the west. Their names were not recorded. Okay, breaking down the sentence. The first comma and only mention, no need for comma after mention. The first comma and only mention in the old records that is still legible, because we've had one mention and therefore we need verb agreement. Are has to be singular as well. Okay, so it is, right? In the old records that is still legible, mentions the artifacts were equipped by 2 bold members of the expanding Navarrene army when Greenleaf was a frontier settlement, aiding the country expansion towards the west. This is also a very long sentence, and you might want to break it down a bit. I would put it, if you do want to break it down a bit, I would go like this. By 2 bold members of the expanding Navarrene army, period. This was back when Greenleaf was a frontier settlement, aiding the country expansion towards the west. And I would say countries, apostrophe S, right? Because you're talking about Greenleaf as a nation, probably, and its expansion. Okay, their names are not recorded. There is also no information, no need for a comma there, regarding how these 2 artifacts passed from them. Again, no need for a comma after artifacts. Passed from them to the Greenleaf Guard. You don't need any commas in that sentence, actually. There is also no information regarding how these 2 artifacts passed from them to the Greenleaf Guard. You could leave the comma behind them if you wanted to break for a pause. The most common version of the history says they settle in the growing town. They settled, since you're doing the rest of this in past tense, settled with a D, in the growing town after they retired and became the first singular, not plural, members of the Guard, still fighting to keep their fellow citizens safe. But the absence of any records detailing no comma needed, the structure of the Guard back then, you've got a typo that says them, makes singular, or S there, plural, this impossible to confirm. Okay. Bob says, the adults could be big enough to handle it. It's the babies that are the problem. They could release pressure as they rise, but there won't be much steam left at the surface. Makara says, woot, history section done-ish. Bob says, I wouldn't touch the giant adults, just rethink the attacks feeding of the smaller young. Yeah, it's interesting, though, because I know that there's baby octopuses and squids that live in those vents. I really like this with the bracers and the background here, Loria. That's really nice. Okay, inactive status. On its inactive status, I would say here, Greenleaf Master Armor, because you have not yet stated what you're talking about in your sentence. This is a, that's the Get Back to Work growl, by the way. This is a thing that is, it's about a particular style of writing. If you're writing an essay, you need to start by stating what you're talking about. Since this is a quote, right, it doesn't really state what you're talking about specifically. So here you have to. On its inactive status, Greenleaf Master Armor resembles a piece of an ornate jewelry rather than armor. right? Armor is a plural thing. It contains multiple pieces. You never describe something as an armor. It's just armor, right? So, 2 aquamarine bracelets with a purple infinity symbol, well displayed. It appears as 2 aquamarine bracelets with a purple infinity symbol in the front and back. You don't need of it. And especially because this is a weird one because you're describing 2 things, that's a plural, right? So front and back of them if you must have a pronoun, right? 2 silver spheres are visible in each. 2 silver spheres in each side of the circle complete the design in the front. Again, you don't need the comma. That just confuses things, right? And complete the design in the front. The front does not need to be capitalized. They're magnetically attached to each other. Only if the same person holds, with an S, both bracelets can they be separated easily, not they can be. That's a confusing thing in English grammar. I don't even know if I can explain why it works like that. I'll look it up in my Strunk and White and I'll tell you next time. If more than one person holds them, they will revert to their attached position. To this date, nobody has been able to keep them separated for long in this state. You don't need a comma after long. It's beautiful work. This looks great. And I get the idea. They just turn back into bracelets. Right? And then now we're going to find out how that works. Activation. The armor activates when a single person puts on both bracelets. Again, no comma needed after person. Put an S at puts. At that point, they will adjust to the wearer's apostrophe S because it's a possessive. The wrist belongs to the wearer. Wrist. And threads of an aquamarine liquid will emerge, not emerging, from both the bracelet from both of the bracelets, comma, covering any garment the wearer has on. The threads end in the second bracelet. When activation is completed, the armor looks S like the wearer has several miniature rivers running from each of the bracelets over their arms, not thought, or maybe through is the word you were looking for there, covering their torso and back. The wearer does not feel any extra weight, nor will he feel wet. I would suggest that if you're using the singular they for the pronoun, you should continue to do so here, nor will they feel wet. Sometimes, especially is a, would be an apostrophe there, but yeah, especially put me, especially when starting to wear it, they can feel a tickling sensation in the arms or torso. People can interact with the rivers in the armor, period. They feel, the new sentence, they feel, so capital T, they feel like a tingle of cool, refreshing energy, a mix between a low electrostatic field and a river stream. No material residue remains when the interactions are finished, and no comma needed after remains. Deactivation. It's spectacular work, by the way, and I like the description of it. This is like manga type stuff. It like, okay, I have the bracelets, activate! And then everything goes, and you're wearing armor. That's neat. Back from Minute Clinic, an antibiotic has been prescribed. Good, I'm glad you could see a doctor too there, Moon. Okay. Deactivation. The master armor is easy to deactivate. Capital T, the wearer, no comma, needs with an S to push the silver button in the infinity symbol of the bracelet. Note we have more than one silver button, so all you need to say, push, needs to push one of the silver buttons in the infinity symbol of the bracelet. Okay. At this point, comma, not which, right? Because otherwise that'd be part of the same sentence. At this point, you can use though, comma, as you've got, right? The activation process reverts, and the river filaments, singular river, filaments are plural. River in that case becomes, it's confusing, but it becomes an adjective describing the plural noun filaments. It's weird, but yeah. And the river filaments retrace themselves, no comma required, back inside the bracelets. After the process is complete, the bracelets can be removed and stored safely. Awesome. Sounds really neat. Yeah. Okay, Daz. See you later. Glad you got Bob's message. Have a good afternoon, and I will see you tomorrow, I'm sure, at the celebration stream. As formidable as the Master Armor is, comma, lowercase I, it only covers the guard's apostrophe S torso. For the rest of the uniform, we have to work with regular materials. The idea was to create it with matching designs and colors, so, or with a matching design and color palette. One of the two, right? Whichever way you want to do it. This has proven, not proved, to be more difficult than anticipated, so we have to simplify the final design. It will be green to honor the settlement name, and blue to match the good rivers our ancestors most definitely were inspired by to make the original one. Period. Okay. Why is it called the Master Armor? I'm going to be finished here pretty quick there, Rabbit. If you feel like starting to get ready, I will raid you as soon as I'm done. Just letting you know that I'm going to be quitting pretty quick. But I'll wait for you regardless. I'll have a few announcements at the end anyway. Why is it called the Master Armor? Greenleaf grew quickly. Right, not grow quickly. That's an E there instead of an O. Right? Greenleaf grew quickly, and in a very short time, more than 2 city guards were needed. This caused D, at the end of it, because it's a past tense, a problem to in dressing them, or this made it difficult to dress them, one of the two, as no new armors were found in the meantime. Also, you've spelled armor 2 different ways here. You're missing the U in this armor. If you're going to spell it with a U, gotta keep spelling it with a U, right? The solution for this problem was to create uniforms for the recently joined guards inspired by the original Numenera armor, which earned it the Master. Denomination isn't quite the right word there, I don't think. Descriptor, perhaps? Again, your work in HeroForge is spectacular. I get a really clear idea. Looks great. Alright. Bob's going to dinner. Good night, Bob. Maybe we'll see you at the game later. Storage. When the armor is not in use, it is kept. Right? Or it. You can use the it's there. You've got the right it's, but it's kind of informal. I would say it is, and then not keep, kept. K-E-P-T. In a rich dark wood box. No comma needed. That has been meticulously crafted to create a fine texture. Period. Capital T. The bracelet symbol is carved on the top, while the green leaf emblem can be seen in the sides. Okay. Complementary pieces. The complementary pieces of armor are made to fit the current captains and are as follows. A pair of trousers. They are made with a mixture of leather and special sweet woof fabric. We looked at the sweet woof, didn't we? Yes, we did. I remember that. That was a really cool article. I like that a lot, Laria. Right. On a green base with several blue bands. They're kept in place by a blue belt. The boots are tall, designed to provide I would just delete okay, I would say it like this. The boots are tall, designed to provide good support and be comfortable. I would delete to give and feet out of that sentence. They are made of several layers of good quality leather. This leather is not treated with dye. Well, you've got color. Color does work, but you might want to use the word dye, D-Y-E, right? To make sure they are well combined with the rest of the uniform, several green bands have been attached, or I would say strategically attached, rather than attached strategically, right? There's nothing technically wrong with attached strategically, but it gives a different impression than strategically attached, right? Strategically attached says you're designing it to look a particular way, right? And attached strategically suggests that it's being attached for fighting. I don't know, right? It's a connotation thing. Laria says, I seem to have duplicated verbs there. It happens, right? To keep the rain and the sun out of the face, the captain's apostrophe S or S apostrophe, either way, right? If you're talking about the uniforms belonging to both of the captains, then it would be S apostrophe, right? Because you have to establish the plural, and then you need to establish the possessive, but you don't repeat the S, right? If it's a singular captain, one captain, then it would be apostrophe S. Okay, so either way, the captain's uniform uses a green campaign hat with a distinguished blue feather for notoriety. Is notoriety really what you mean? Notoriety does technically mean fame, but it's kind of a negative fame, right? Maybe you want distinction or something like that. If you do want notoriety because they're supposed to be intimidating, cool, right? Just double checking is all. As any reputable uniform, here I wouldn't use its. I would use the master armor, or it is. It is completed by a light cape, as it does not need to be used, as the cape is not needed to protect against the elements, is how I put that. They are the captain of the guard, so fame and good standing, I suppose. So I'd say distinction rather than notoriety. Yeah, okay. Yeah, okay, so back to the sentence here, right? It is completed by a light cape, as it is not needed to protect against the elements, is how I would put that, just to complement the rest of the uniform. So I'll point out that you're saying here that the cape is not needed to protect against the elements, which must mean that the master armor magic bit is protective against the elements. If that is so, you have not said that here, and you might want to think about doing that. That it provides natural protection against the element due to its magical aura or whatever it is, right? So, okay. Or a force field or whatever your description is, you know. Okay. The cape is blue with geometrical green shapes around it. It is attached I like that sentence, but it's incorrect grammatically, so I'm going to try to figure out how to keep your pretty verb. You said it is attached floating in top of the master armor by a leafy collar. And that's the sprint for those of you sprinting. How can I do that? Because that would be pretty. I think you might be able to get away with just putting a comma. It is attached, comma, floating on top of the master armor by a leafy collar. I think that would be lovely. I like that phrase. It's very descriptive, and I want to keep that for you. I don't want you to have to kill your babies, as they say. Special traits. The master armor, again, the armor should be capitalized because it's part of the proper noun. No comma required. Always deflect shots directed towards it, even at point blank range. Oh, okay, this is where you're going to tell me what it does. Okay, cool, fine. Yeah. If solid, the shots will be seen being deflected towards the shoulders and away from the wearer. It's important to note. Okay, I would say it like this. It's important to note, not notice. It's important to note that the speed of the projectile or the speed of the shot is only marginally reduced, so it can still impact people around the wearer. If the projectile is instead made of energy, a wave can be seen spreading throughout, not thought. But yeah, throughout is a, like this, like that. Okay, spreading throughout the armor. No comma needed. Spreading throughout the armor from the impact location. Actually, if you put a comma in there, you confuse it, right? Because it changes the meaning, right? Spreading throughout the armor from the impact location. You get the idea. The wave goes like in a ripple, right? It also conveys protection against the elements and any kind of corrosion. Fantastic. Okay, never mind what I said earlier about putting that it can do that. I had so many problems with that paragraph, it didn't fit anywhere in my article. I see what you mean. It's fine there. I just have to be patient. As long as it's included, it's great. Usage. Currently, these two artifacts are used to protect the two captains of the guard. You don't need by because it's personal armor for them. It's for their protection. They offer a higher amount of protection, no comma needed, than any normal armor would provide. And, comma, there, that's where you need the comma, and, comma, due to its, and that's the wrong its, that one needs, actually, no, that's right, that is the right its, and due to its clear Numenera origin and associated history, are a symbol of status. Is the word Numenerin, or is it Numenera, right? I realize you're talking about Numenera, but, you know, do we need to change it to an adjective? Right? Ownership transference. After a captain is retired and a successor is chosen to replace him, may I suggest that since you used the singular they earlier, you might want to try the singular they here. Either that or change it all to him, that's fine too, but is chosen to replace them. An armor transfer ceremony happens at noon the day after the announcement in the High Market. That's perfectly fine. Thank you for the tooltip explaining the High Market. You need a period after that and capital T. This is a festive event, but as the location reveals, it's oriented towards the most wealthy citizens. You need an S there at the end of citizen. The event starts, you need an S there at the end of start, with a council member chosen from the Council of Greenleaf giving a speech in the name of the whole council. After the speech is finished, the old captain asks, singular, like so an S at the end of it, to be relieved, D instead of an S, that's a typo there, of his duty in favor of his replacement, whom, that's where you use the word whom, right? Whom, he or they, right? Again, pick one, right? You used singular they earlier, so if you're going to use it at all, continue using it, right? If you prefer to change the singular they to he because you find it easier to write, that's perfectly legitimate. There's nothing wrong with that in the English language. Go ahead and do it, right? In favor of his replacement, whom, he or they, depending on which you've picked, presents S at the end of present to the council. The new captain confirms his or their vow to the city and the captaincy he or they is acquiring to them, who then authorizes the The new captain confirms his vow to the city and the captaincy he is Relinquishing, I would say, is the word you want there, right? Acquiring to them is kind of bizarre. There are 2 captains of the guard that do not normally retire at the same time. Right, okay, yes, but earlier you used the singular they, right? You used they to describe a singular person, right? So if you're going to do that, you need to keep doing that, right? They is okay. Traditionally, they is used to describe multiple people, right? But recently, because we're looking for gender neutral language, we have revived an older use of they, which is for a singular person. You've done that a couple times earlier in the article, right? So if you're, it sounds like you're confused by the concept though. So my suggestion is to change it to either, like if you don't understand that, then change it all to he, right? Except when it is specifically plural, right? Either one are fine. And despite, Siobhan's thing, so women are not allowed to become guards, yes, you have to be aware that if you use the singular he as a default, then if women are allowed to become guards, you're going to have to say that somewhere to clarify. But it is still a perfectly legitimate English language use to default to he, whether I like it or not, right? So I'm just trying to correct the grammar. I am not making social commentary. Okay, so, right? I would say relinquishing. That's the word instead of acquiring. No women are not allowed in the city. Then definitely change the singulars to all he. Okay, so use that word instead of acquiring. Sorry, and I spelt acquiring wrong, but you know what I meant. Okay, so the new captain confirms his vow to the city and the captaincy he is acquiring to them, who then authorizes the old captain to be relieved of duty, comma, and for him to pass on the arm, or actually no, who then authorizes the old captain to be relieved of duty and, comma, actually no, I was right in the first place, and, okay, duty, comma, and for him to pass on the armor to the new captain. To this effect, the old captain, no comma needed, deactivates S to make it plural, or S to, sorry, change the tense there. I'm getting confused now. I've been doing this too long. It deactivates the armor, places with an S it on its storage box, and passes ES at the end of pass it to the council. No comma needed at it. They in return thank singular, or there's no S, thank the old captain for, not from, his service, comma, and give him a final payout, remove the comma there in exchange. The box is no comma needed, no comma needed. The box is then handed over to the new captain, who proceeds S after the D to activate it on himself for the first time. And that is a really cool armor. That is really neat. Sorry for all the... Oh, what the heck happened there? I liked it. Where'd it go? Oh, did you change the URL? Ah, the name of the article changed. Okay, can you post the new link in the chat so I can like your article? I really liked it. I realize I'm really hard on you in the grammar, and if you don't find that helpful, then tell me to piss off. I don't mind. I'm genuinely trying to help. My purpose is to make the article clearer to other people so that it is, so that your stuff comes through and your ideas are, Oh, good, it did like it. Okay. So that the articles is more understandable, right? And that's all. That's my only purpose. And I realized that English grammar is fucking stupid. It is stupid. Really stupid. It makes no sense. So, you know, it's really helpful is even when I read multiple times, I don't seem to catch it all. You should see my French grammar sometime. You can have a good laugh at me. It would be very funny. Okay. So thank you very much for joining me, everybody. This, as always, was a lot of fun. I didn't get a lot done on my own projects today. I'm sad about that, but we'll have more time for that in the future. I don't know. I might have to cut down the number of showcases because I gotta get stuff done too. But and you're welcome, Laria. I like doing it. Right, is the problem. Right, I really like reading people's articles and helping them out with trying to make things more clear or giving suggestions or whatever. I have a lot of fun with that. So it's my own fault. I end up spending longer on things than I should. Make soliloquies on science fiction. Yeah, you're welcome there, Emily. Always a joy. Okay, so we're gonna be back in 2 hours for Toysoldier's Old School, our weekly game. So that is 6 o'clock p.m. Pacific, 9 o'clock p.m. Eastern, and I believe that's 1 o'clock in the morning UTC, right? I think it's episode 45 or 46 today. So, don't call me. Oh, just made it on the end, Masadis. That sucks. But thanks for coming. Makara says, I do want to make Sable suffer with my article at some point. Gotta finish it and find a gap first, though. Yeah, it's just getting thinner, man. Midnight UTC? Whatever. Okay. No, it's not midnight UTC because it's 7 hours. We're at -7. So I was right. 1 o'clock. Right? Because it's 6 p.m. Pacific. Okay, Amelie says, being able to share an article is a great motivation to finish it first. That's true. That's very true. Okay, tomorrow, unusually, we're actually going to be here. We're going to be here at 1 p.m. Pacific, 4 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. UTC. We are going to be doing our 500 follower celebration stream. We're going to have raffles. We're going to have, I don't know, probably music because people have asked for that. We're probably going to have a little bit of reading. I don't know, pester Aaron, something, right? So, I don't know. I'm going to make Aaron do something because, I'm not going to tap dance the whole time. So, it's going to be fun, right? So come be with us, join the raffles, it's a celebration for you guys, right? Because, I want to thank you for all your support over the past year. I did not foresee that in just over a year of streaming, we would have 500 followers on this channel. I never saw it going that way. I'm really delighted, and you guys are amazing, right? So I really want to do stuff to, to show you that I think you're amazing. Maybe we'll do some showcases if we have some time. Catch up a bit. That might be fun. All right, we're going to raid Rabbit Candy Void, who, of course, should just have made affiliate. If you haven't followed him yet, please do so. He's a good bean. He's a new ASC streamer, right? Brand new streamer in general. He's got a very nice chill space, working on world building and, sharing his ideas. He's a lot of fun. He's a role-playing gamer. You probably saw him yesterday in Dinosaur Bob's stream. It was awesome. So, because he was playing the Rat Folk. And he did a great job. It was hilarious. All right. Thank you again. We'll see you in 1 hour and 51 minutes, as it says on the stream end here. When you get to Rabbit Candy Void, don't forget to shout, prepare to be boarded, because we are the Sable's Privateers, and I will see you soon. Bye!